A look at the relationship between Mike and Sully during their days at Monsters University, when they weren't necessarily the best of friends.
Welcome to the Walt Vault with
Michelle,
Andre,
Luis,
and me, Emily. We're a family-friendly podcast where we pick a new Disney movie each week. We watch it, share our thoughts, and then relate it to pop culture, fandoms, and anything else that pops into our heads. Enjoy!
hello and welcome to the Walt Vault, episode 35, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 35. I'm not positive. And you know what? I'm not going to look it up. So you guys know.
Most definitely episode 35.
All right, I did.
I just like to, hear you sputter. That was fun.
Sweet, thanks.
You're welcome.
This week, we are talking about your voted movie of the month, a Pixar sequel. You guys voted for Monsters University.
M-U.
Moo.
Mew!
Mew 2. No. Mew 1. Monsters University. Yeah, this is fun. Thank you guys for voting. We appreciate it when you participate.
We especially appreciate it when you don't vote for Cars 2.
I still haven't seen Cars 2, so, it's whatever to me.
It's fine. You don't need to.
I probably won't. Guys, first impressions. What do you think of Monsters University?
First impression is, I think this is only the third time I've seen this movie. Like, I haven't seen it pretty frequently, and it came out at a good time. What year did it come out again?
2013.
Yeah,
Good time.
I graduated college the next year. So it came out, at a very good time where it was, a relatable humor for me. This is, out of the Pixar sequels, it's in, the top 3. It's a very good Pixar sequel. What about you?
I agree. It's up there with Pixar sequels. But I don't know that it's up there in terms of the rest of the Pixar film. It's probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
I liked it a lot. It's fun. It's funny. But it's not as good as Monsters, Inc. And it's not as good as some other stuff, too. But good. Good, not great.
All right. My first impression is that I'm watching Michelle right now. And that's the problem. You want to know what Michelle's doing right now? I may or may not.
Don't worry about it.
No, I'm gonna throw it out there.
Please explain.
So we actually all of us have been on vacation in some sort or the other in the last week. But Luis and I just got back from vacation and we brought back some treats. And the first thing that Michelle does is she reaches over to a Harry Potter chocolate frog that I brought back for Andre, and she very much expects there to be a chocolate frog in there. And she made this face when there was no chocolate frog.
Not only did I eat
only made a
it,
face because we can't talk right now because we're recording.
I ate it, and then I gave you the other half, so you already ate it too.
He just bit the head off and gave me the whole body.
So
he's so nice.
So
what
she
are you
was reaching
upset
for a second frog.
I thought maybe there was 2 frogs in there.
Wrong.
Well, she was happy that there was a Rowena Ravenclaw trading card, which was cool.
Nice. We can put it next to our Dumbledore trading card.
Yeah. And then she just tried a Birdie Bot's Ever Flavor Bean, and she was very afraid it was going to be
I kept picking it up and putting it down because it was the yellow one. So it was either going to be banana or earwax, and I got banana, guys.
Oh, well, that's good. Because, Dumbledore
Otherwise,
gets
on
earwax
this
in the
podcast,
movie.
I literally would have been like, that's what you would have heard.
That's my first impression of this movie. No, I'm just kidding. My first impression is best sequel.
Oh, best sequel.
Best Pixar sequel.
That is from a person who
I've seen so far.
Who has not seen The Incredibles 2.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But you've seen Finding Dory, right?
See.
Okay.
Better than Toy Story 2 and or 3?
Those things make me feel things.
Okay.
I don't like feeling things.
Right. You like to keep your emotions buried very deep inside.
Jovial sequel.
Yeah, I don't do emotions well, so yeah, no. Best sequel.
Okay.
Emily has the hat. She loves MU.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do have the hat. We'll talk about the hat in a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lou.
I like this movie a lot. It was good. Now I'm joking, guys. Okay, so
powerful words from
first off, I liked the movie a lot because it was very. And this is gonna sound funny coming from me, but it was very upbeat. Very. Yeah. I think you guys said the word jovial.
Jovial.
Yes. So it was very jovial for me.
Ugh.
I thought that was pretty cool
Jovial.
because, like,
I'm done.
you know, it didn't. I never got the impression like it was like, oh, kind of downer moment.
Right.
The
So you
entire
felt
movie
very
seemed-
jovial.
Yes,
Jovial,
I felt
yeah.
very jovial, and I really appreciated that about this movie. So, yeah.
Y'all remember that shelf that Oozma had in Emperor's New Groove with all the vials? There's
Yes.
one that says Joe on it.
It was Joe Vile.
Jovial.
Very jovial.
That's his name, Joe. Vile.
Oh.
Well,
Well, thank you, Lou.
I like hearing that from Luis.
I know
Nice.
that he liked something.
Yeah. He
Wow.
likes things.
Did you also like that habanero salsa I brought you back from Mexico?
It was deadly.
Yeah.
Just like Yzma's other
No, but,
vials.
Evile.
Eva.
I also don't have someone that I despise in this movie. So that's
What?
the first.
I do.
You didn't despise the crab thing? Nah, it reminded you of one of your fraternity brothers. Let's move
Wow.
along.
For the first time I have someone to despise.
Oh. Well, do
We'll
you
get
want to
there.
start? Where do? Okay.
Well, I guess since we're starting with
we
characters.
can start with there,
yeah.
sure. Who do you
Um,
despise?
I didn't like Art.
Art. Which one was Art? Give me a moment. You
The
guys.
purple one.
The
Emily looks so mad right
the
now.
hippy dippy 2-leg dude.
I didn't like him.
I wish you could see my face because I kept saying,
Is he your
Art
favorite?
is my favorite. He's
Are you
so
serious?
Yes, what's wrong with you? He's so
Oh.
funny.
He just is weird.
He literally said, I can't go back to jail again.
I was dying.
That was one of my favorite
I
lines.
don't
in the
know.
entire
Maybe
movie.
it's the way he looks like that. He looks like a furry rainbow.
God forbid he be a furry rainbow.
I don't know. He's not my favorite.
You said that you despised him. There's a difference
Despised.
between not my
okay,
favorite.
Despise is a strong word, but I don't enjoy when he comes on screen.
He's a
really.
new age philosophy major, okay? He said he's excited to live with you and laugh with you and cry with you. He's excited for all the things.
Oh
No,
my God.
my favorite is Squishy.
Oh, squishy.
Squishy's pretty great.
I knew you
I like
Squishy would
Squishy.
be your favorite. I even said it when we were watching
How'd
it.
you know?
But- I know you. I was like, Squishy's gonna be Michelle's favorite. He's
the
really
best
cute.
thing about Squishy is when they're doing the scare simulator at the end, and his scare move is literally just getting really, really close to the child and being like, "Hi."
He's terrifying.
So
It's
scary.
very scary.
Very
Squishy
scary
is
monster.
great. I love
Okay,
Squishy.
so at least just for some context, the characters that we're actually talking about right now are all a part of the Oozma Kappa
Okay.
Brotherhood. Okay, we're okay.
We're okay.
It's they're a part of the Oozma Kappa Brotherhood at Monsters University. So this movie starts out, and you actually get to see little Mike, like Mike
baby
as
My
maybe like
baby little baby Mike.
maybe like a 5-year-old, like
I think like first grade kindergarten.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they're going on a
Baby
field trip.
Mike is my favorite.
He's so freaking cute. He
No accent.
No.
No
He
accent on
looks
Baby
like a little kettleball.
kettlebell.
Kettlebell.
Kettleball.
Kettleball.
Like a gym weightlifting thing.
It's called
Oh,
a kettlebell.
Kettleball.
It's not a ball, it's a bell.
Kettleball.
Anywho, so he's on the bus and he gets off, and even his teacher kind of forgot about him. She
Right.
didn't see him there, and she ends up, she has to be his, what do you call it?
it's a partner buddy.
His
Karen.
partner. Anywho, so they go into the Monsters University scare factory, where we know that he ends up working later just because we've seen the first movie, but they go in and everyone is so taken by the scares and all the different scare floors and all the things that Monsters Inc. does. And that's where Mike's first wants to be a scarer. So fast forward all of the years, and he ends up at Monsters University
With his hat
with his hat that he got on that first day at
From the
Monsters
scare
Inc.
floor.
from the John Krasinski monster.
Yes.
That was played by Jim from The Office.
Exactly. And so he ends up at Monsters University, and he just wants to be a scarer. That's the number one thing he wants to be.
And literally, from the moment they put that hat on his head at MU, I was like, you know what? Mike deserves to be a scare. Like, the amount of feelings I feel for Mike in this movie. Like, I think we all agreed that we loved Sully so much in Monsters, Inc. You just, it's
You
the
can't
Mike
not love
feels
him
with
here.
This movie.
This is definitely a Mike movie.
I love him.
Oh, he's too cute. But one of my so in the timeline, he arrives at Monsters University. He's like the most excited freshman ever, and literally I was laughing, and I don't think that anyone unless you were super involved in college, like if you went to a university and you were super involved, you might not think it was as funny as it really was. But like the
New
first
student
the
orientation,
new student orientation,
which Emily and I both were.
I'm like, so we used to at California State University Stanislaus, where Luisa and Michelle and I went. They had new student orientation, and Michelle and I were new student orientation leaders. So we were always a part of NSO, and it was funny because they were like, "Hi, I'm Faye, and we're gonna do this," and then "Hi, I'm Tay, and we're gonna do this," and
Which
Shay.
is
And
totally what we did. And then what we would do after it was over, we would go in the back and be like, give me a beer.
Seriously.
It was hard work.
So
man.
it's so funny.
Happy and excited.
I
though.
know.
Yeah, we had to be.
because that was the expectation. So it was so funny to see that played out in
So funny.
on a campus because they over exaggerated it, but that's exactly how it was.
But it's, and they over exaggerate also their. Once Mike gets his schedule and he's enrolled in his classes and he has his room, he's walking through the quad, which we could call just, the grassy
campus.
area in the campus where there's a big opening, and there's all these booths, which where Emily and I went to college is where all the Greek booths were. Like
Improv club.
Improv
Which was
club.
hilarious.
Were you going to join that one, Andre?
If we had one at my school, then yeah, I would have.
Did
Yeah,
they
so
not have one at
basically-
Fresno State?
No, there was
No?
there was a drama club, and I did
Oh, okay.
I did take a class, but
Yeah, so all
was
the...
it.
Eh.
wasn't improv.
Yeah. All the clubs and organizations basically have booths in the quad where they promote things. So he's walking by all these people promoting things, and the best one was the art club, and there's this purple furry dude. He sticks his head in a thing of paint, and he just goes, boom,
Slams
against the
his head
paper.
against
I would
the
have joined that club just for
canvas.
that reason.
That was hilarious. Well, and it was funny. So he's walking through the quad, and he comes across the Greek booth, and it's so funny because being Greek, especially in fall recruitment mode, and we won't get too far into it because Lord knows we could talk about that for hours, but going into fall recruitment, you usually will have like one or two booths with all of the Greek information versus like each one of them having their own.
Yeah.
So it was funny that you walked up and you had this bird thing that I totally think was in the jocks.
He's
like,
so
he was like,
funny.
"Oh my God, you got Jude." It's like, I'm
He was a
like,
Theta Chi for
I
sure.
know that was totally. Luis was in Theta Chi in college, and that was totally
That bird thing
Luis's.
was a Theta Chi.
That's what I'm saying.
Luis is laughing right now because he knows it's
Which
true.
is hilarious because the fraternity is called Jocks, which is Jaws Theta Chi,
Oh.
and Luis's fraternity is Theta
Theta
Chi.
Chi without the
So-
jaws.
Oh, so it's just so freaking funny, and they were the first ones to get disqualified in the freaking
Yeah,
in
immediately.
the freaking
Double
They would.
secret probation.
and
Double secret probation.
and when we were in college, Luis's fraternity
Theta
got in
Chi's only
trouble.
were successful if they were teamed with us, Phi Sigma Sigmas.
Boom.
Oof.
Ooh, she went there.
It's
That's
getting
okay.
contentious in here.
It's getting contentious. But it was funny because they just were so they picked the stereotypes correctly and they rocked it, and I'm
Right.
not even upset about it. I'm not even mad. Not one bit.
These dudes
Also-
went to college.
So, also in the quad, immediately they're promoting what they're calling the Scare Games, which is basically equivalent to what we had called Greek Week, where all of the Greek organizations compete against each other, and they get a big trophy at the end saying, like, you're the winners of Greek Week. So it's just so funny that they took the concept of scaring and the Scare Games, which is basically the most popular major on campus, and made it into, like, a Greek Week type of event. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they did a great job with that.
Great job.
So they end up pretty much Mike ends up in his dorm room, and he ends up
His roommate
rooming with
Randall.
Randall Boggs.
Randall.
And all I have
I
to
love
say,
Randall then. He's so nice.
all I have to say is that I realize now why Randall turned evil.
Why?
'Cause he can't see.
Because he can't see.
He is upset for,
Okay,
for the
here's
next
the deal.
10 years.
Here's the deal.
He was wearing glasses. Mike told him to took them off.
Exactly.
Yes. So he introduces himself. He's like, "Hey, I'm your new roommate or whatever." And Mike, and he gets scared and he
vanishes.
vanishes. He disappears, and he gets embarrassed. Randall's like, "Oh my God, that's so embarrassing. If I did that in scare class, I'd be a laughing stock." And Mike's like, "No, it's really cool. You should do that. Just get rid of the glasses." And immediately he takes them off and starts squinting because he can't see.
And that's why he looks so creepy.
And I'm going to tell you right now that when I don't have my glasses or my contacts in, I am very angry because I immediately get a tension headache, and there is no other reason as to why he turned evil. So Mike's the cause of Randall Boggs.
Whoa, supervillain
Mike
origin
and
story.
also Sully
Wait, yeah.
Who beat him.
Yeah.
That was the main thing.
Exactly.
I'm just saying, if you don't have your glasses, it's really,
There's
really
a
hard.
reason he hates both of them. You know what I mean? So then
He doesn't hate Mike at all in this movie.
he doesn't, but
Not in this movie,
he
no.
really hates Sully.
Now,
You guys are no fun. Whatever.
I agree. I agree that Mike is the cause of
Thank you, Andre.
of
I think
Randall's-
it's plausible.
of Randall's suffering.
no.
He's not.
Mike.
It's
Mike
all-
had nothing to do with it.
It's all Sully
Mike gave him his look for life. Yes,
and his
but
tension headache.
it was all and his tension headaches. But it was all Sully that he hates Sully because he's the reason why he pretty much got ousted out of what's it called?
Roar.
Roar.
Roar, mega roar.
I like. I like that Randall was like a good student. You know, he was studying with Mike that entire first year, and they were both pretty good at.
I
at
appreciate
school.
that too, because you assume that because he was kind of cheating in the second movie that he was like once a cheater, always a cheater type
Right.
thing. No, he was a good student.
Yeah, he just started cheating at the end to get ahead of Sully. Sullivan.
Also, we're always saying how with villains throughout these movies we've been watching so far, like we wish we understood where they were coming from sometimes and like their backstory. So it was so nice that we totally got that in this movie. Like we understood that Randall just wanted to be the cool kid, and he finally had this opportunity. And Mike or
Don't ruin
Sully
this for me,
did,
Mike.
Yeah, Sully did a big roar and messed up his scare, so he barely got any scare.
A
points.
big roar and messed up his scare.
But and then it's like from that moment that he's like, "You will never beat me again." And even in Monsters Inc., he just wants to be the cool kid.
It's
It's
true.
the same thing. So we totally can understand.
It's a Yagubian moment.
Yeah, but I love that we've like got some backstory on
Agreed.
him. And honestly, all of the characters. That's the thing. Is like we were just saying this is one of the best sequels ever, but it's not even a sequel. It's a prequel.
Truth.
But for some reason, I usually enjoy prequels like so much more. Like every superhero needs a good origin story, right? So like these characters, we got their origin story. We got to see that Mike and Sully did not have a good relationship at all at first, and at the beginning, to where they're completely in sync by the end. You know
Well,
what I
and you
mean?
know what's really funny about this is that when you were saying that we got our, villainous backstory, there wasn't really a villain in this movie.
No.
Like, think about it.
Right.
There's
There was,
some-
like,
some
bad
jocks
people.
and,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
normal college jerks. Like even the dean, who you're supposed to kind of think is a villain and scary, she's not really.
Yeah,
I thought her name was Hard Scramble for a while, but it's Hard Scrabble.
Hard
Scrabble.
Which is pretty either way. But
Yeah.
even Hard Scrabble's not a villain. She's
Right.
just like wants to make sure that she keeps the prestigiousness
of her university
of her university and her scamming
class.
And
school.
I think about it at this point, honestly, she was probably trying to save Mike. Because if you think about it, Mike was not scary. And she kicks out people who she knows are not scary because if they think children are toxic and for some reason they get hired there, like, Mike would die. He would have already gotten touched by
He
a
would've
child.
got-
Like,
Well,
we
exactly
know.
like what happened when he went into
Yeah.
he went into the
Oh
real world
my
and those little girls just thought he was like the dang cutest thing on the
Yeah.
planet. Rawr.
She was trying to protect him in a weird way, but
Yeah.
she was.
You know what I was thinking the entire movie? Like every time somebody told Mike that like he wasn't scary, like you're not scary, you'll never be scary, you suck at being scary. I was like, why don't he just like scare himself up a little bit? He's a little eyeball, but he's got horns, he's got claws, he's got sharp teeth. If he just
Some props.
if he just embraced that a little bit, if
Should
he
have joined that
if he
improv
put on
club.
some fake horns and some bigger teeth and some scary claws, maybe painted his eye red or something like that, he could be
Yeah, but
very
I think
scary.
But I think that's the point is that you are the scarer that you are, not
Sure.
that you have to like put on a whole bunch of other stuff. Even though I
Accepting
remember
their differences and their individualities. what
But I
makes
do
them
remember in
unique.
the first movie, remember like they had big old teeth and then he like
Yeah, he
one of
pulled
them
them out.
pulled him out. So now that I say that,
Yeah.
Yeah. He could, but
Yeah, he
listen,
could have been a scary.
Mike's winning in the end of Monsters Inc., so he's got nothing to worry about.
Right.
He was
That-
in the big funny leagues.
Yeah, this-
Yeah, he didn't even join the improv club, and he ended up being funny. Man,
just like me. This movie, it kind of like it almost.
You are Mike.
It almost pays off
We have said
Mike's
that.
ending in Monsters Inc. a little bit
Yeah.
more because he gets to finally get into that room and
yeah, exactly.
get some.
Oh, that's
laughs
so nice.
instead of
isn't
screams.
it? That's nice. He finally got in that scare room.
Although all the studying he did was for naught because he's not.
No, he is
scared.
so smart.
No,
That
but
dude
he
has,
did
like, a
help
photographic
Sully.
memory.
Yeah.
because
helped Sully.
if he hadn't been such a good student, there's no way Sully would have made it into being a good scare because,
No
and you know,
way,
it's
yeah.
funny because I didn't remember this when we rewatched Monsters Inc. I didn't remember this part of Monsters University, but I thought it was so interesting how the importance of knowing what type of scare technique to use is really a part of this storyline because I mean, in the first movie, you assume, you know, you just go in there, you scare the pants off the kid, you come out, everything's grand.
Right. So
but
much
it
more
makes
to it.
makes so much more sense that you have to adjust your scaring technique to the kids' fears because if you don't, you can make them cry instead of scream, and if they cry, then the parents are going to come in.
Yep.
So it
Which-
expanded on that whole concept of we match the monster to the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really masterful way of kind of
Yes.
expanding, like you said, expanding the universe, but also bringing like the studying part into
Right,
it, like
yeah.
making it a
Like,
school
wow, they
concept.
went to college for this. Like, not all monsters are scary. They were doing other things, too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which was cool to
During
see.
watching Monsters Inc., I was like, oh, so this is kind of just like a factory job, basically.
Yeah.
Right? They're just kind of in a factory and
So
making
much more
screens
than
and stuff
that.
like
It's
that,
like
but
the
they all need
prestigious-
degrees, basically,
Yeah.
to
You
be a
need a
scarer.
degree, man. Being the
It's almost like
person-
being a scientist, kind of.
Right.
Like you
Yeah.
go and then you get your specimens for
being
the day.
obsessed at my job. I'm obsessed with my job. Obviously, I love my job. But I also relate it to that. Is like, okay, I'm working with a kid this day. If I literally, you have to like change your personality and the ways you interact with them, or else, yeah, they gonna think you scary too. Like there's some of the kids you cannot talk in a high pitched voice to because they'll freak out.
Yeah.
So it's almost like the same thing. So I was like, oh, I totally get that. Like, you have to figure out the kid and whether you're like a match for them or not.
I think that's
It's
really
super
cool.
Monsters are
Wow,
training
look
to
at
work
that.
with
Life,
children.
life skills in a movie, guys.
Oh,
It's great.
Disney
I
magic.
know. Well,
just so-
since we were on this concept of characters, we were originally talking about these Oozma Kappa brothers.
Oh,
So we
yeah.
talked about art. We talked about this Squishy who has a bunch of eyeballs. They live in Squishy's mother's house, which is hilarious.
I can't get over that.
Hilarious. I think that's so funny.
Her house is
It's
so
funny
cute.
in so many ways because in real Greek life, where there is like housing and stuff, sometimes they require the school or the organization will require you to have a house mom or a house quote unquote dad or whatnot.
And it's not going to be like someone's mom, though.
No,
That's why
no.
it's funny.
It's usually like their actual job, not like a mother.
Yeah,
but-
it's going to be
Right.
like their chapter key advisor or something, not their freaking
And you
mom.
know
so funny though.
And sometimes it's not even somebody who is part of the fraternity
Right.
or the sorority. Sometimes it's just somebody who gets hired to make sure they're,
Like in The House
Chillin'.
Bunny. I saw that movie.
Oh God, we're not talking about that.
Well, no, it kind of pertains to this because this movie is a college movie. It reminds me of a lot of other movies that I've seen about being in college. Like,
Yeah.
it's like Revenge of the Nerds. It's like
Yes.
Accepted. It's like an extremely goofy movie. It's like all these college movies that when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is what college is. Gonna be
Exactly.
like. Yeah. So it pertains to the house.
Well,
Bunny.
and did you guys ever watch the TV show Greek?
I watched it. I think a couple of episodes.
So
The whole thing.
so when Luis and I got married, and I remember, hold on, back the bus up.
Backtrack.
I remember many of my friends in college watching Greek when it was on TV, and then I just was not into it, whatever. And I was one of those like, oh, the stereotypes, me, so much better than that. Okay, anywho. So Luis and I got
That's not
married,
me.
and he literally was like, Greek is on Netflix. We gotta watch
and that's
this.
exactly the time I started watching it.
Yes.
Right there with you.
And I'm telling you, that was
It's so
was the
brilliant.
first show that we binge watched together.
Ah.
It was the gateway drug to Netflix, okay? And legitimately, we sat and we watched that for hours on end, but this reminds me of that
It
so
does.
much because of the way that they do
And
the
it's
stereotypes.
so entertaining.
Yes.
Right.
God, it's so good. Who are the other members of the Oozma Kappa? Who's
So there was
There's
Dawn.
Don, the salesman,
Wait, do that again.
master of sales.
Oh my goodness.
I
You
love,
sounded just like him.
I love Don.
With the sticky
Is he your
ass.
favorite, Don?
Just a little sticky.
Please don't.
Is Don my favorite? I don't know. Who's my favorite? Squishy's up there. I like the twins.
Terry and Terry?
Terry and
Terry,
Terry.
Terry when one doesn't dance at all.
Terry with an I and Terry
I'm a
with a Y.
dance major, and I'm not. That was very funny.
I like how he starts dancing. He's like, and 3, 4, 5, turn. Why aren't you turning?
Why'd you turn?
They're my second favorite. They're hilarious.
Yeah, I think Don is my favorite because he's. I just thought I'd go back to school and learn computers.
No.
The computer.
Learn the computers.
Pretty much, he was working for all of his years. Then he got laid off. They downsized,
Poor
and he
Don.
wanted to go back to school to learn the computers.
You know what? You go, Don.
Get it,
You
Don.
went back to school. A lot of people just would have given up.
He
Not
said-
Don.
He's like, I'm Don, a mature student.
A mature student. You know what? Don has. If anybody has the best self-esteem, it's Don. Like, just get in there and do your thing at the college, Don.
The best.
Learn the computers.
The best part about Don is that he ends up with Squishy's mom at the end.
Think of me as your brother. Your brother's father. Your brother's brother's.
we're like brothers with the same mom / wife. Wait, no.
You mean Sherry?
Sherry is great too. I love how she interrupts their little ritual.
Oh,
going on.
God. Here
Stop.
we go.
Stop.
Here
Let's
we go.
Let's
Emily.
go. Let's go.
The black robes, the paddles.
Okay, here's the
Oh,
deal.
here it goes.
Okay.
Did your sorority do this with the robes and the paddles?
Okay.
I don't know.
I can't tell you.
Did we?
Oh boy.
It's yes, secret. You
Yes,
can't know.
I have worn a robe in my life in a ritual ceremony.
Okay.
That's
and
the
yes,
answer
we
to
have
your...
ritual
Thank you.
ceremonies, but you can't know what goes on.
Yeah, I
I've
can't
worn
tell
a
you.
robe too.
Yes, you
Nice.
have.
High five.
Did you forget?
No.
So yes, but it was funny because I remember watching this in theaters, and the moment, actually, when the lights went out, I thought it was Sherry turning off the lights, like saying like it's
Good night.
it's past your bedtime,
Yeah.
like turning them off. That's what I thought originally. But when they went,
They start walking down the
when
stairs.
they start walking down the stairs,
candle.
and you see the candle, I literally screamed in the movie theater and was like, "It's a ritual ceremony!"
Oh my God.
It is a ritual ceremony. I'm laughing. So
he's standing there and he's like doing his like stuff. No,
you vow. So for the
Washing
man's
machine is
brotherhood,
going off.
Just ignore me. They're whacking them with the paddles. Which, okay, I will say that doesn't happen, guys.
No,
we didn't whack people.
I
with paddles.
decorated a paddle, not
We
whacked
decorated
people
and put
with
them
it.
on our wall. Yeah,
Yep.
sure. We
Luis,
weren't whacking
paddles?
people.
Luis has a paddle.
What paddle?
Okay.
He has a paddle.
All right,
we
y'all
all
are- We
have
all have
paddles,
paddles.
but it didn't mean I paddled anybody.
We smacked with a
Maybe I
paddle.
did. I don't know.
But it's just too funny because she comes in and she's doing her laundry and Squishy's like, "Mom, we're in the middle of an initiation." And it's like, stop.
It sucks because that was the only moment in the movie where Squishy sounded like a man when he was giving
Right,
out
when he
the
was-
ritual. And Mom ruined that moment.
And he looked so
Thanks,
cool
Mom.
doing it too.
With
Well,
his
because
hood
the
off.
robe was covering
Already.
6 of his eyes. He only had 2 eyes at that point, and then pulled it
that
back
was
up.
the best moment of Squishy's life, and his mom ruined his initiation.
Well, and it's funny because I think back to like when I was in college, and had I like had my mom come in during an initiation, like
I would have thought it
I
was
would
a
have
joke all
lost
of a
my
sudden.
mind. I would have been like, "Ah, sacred."
It is
Sacred.
If anybody came into our meeting, we would have immediately attacked them. We'd be
Yeah.
like, get out!
Yeah.
I do want to let you guys know from an outside perspective that
Creepy.
your rituals are super silly and not
You don't
serious
know
at
what
all.
went on in there, so you don't know.
Okay.
What rituals?
Sure.
I was
I
gonna-
have seen those movies I mentioned before, which all have the same exact scene with people in robes and paddles and candles, and then they start their initiations or whatever.
You'll never know.
Sure, I'll never actually know, but I do know that what I know,
Is it true?
I do know that what I know
it's all silly.
is silly.
What initiations?
All right. Y'all are being cagey.
I'm going to
Sorry.
tell you right now that there are things I have never lied to Luis once in my entire life. I don't keep anything from Luis, but I still don't know what he has done in a ritual ceremony. He has no
Nor
idea
does he
what,
know what we've
done.
Andre doesn't know what I've done in ours either.
No.
I've never talked to him about that, and I don't think I ever will.
No.
Okay.
What rituals?
I'll start keeping stuff from y'all too. I don't know.
Listeners, if any of you are in Greek life, you know what we're talking about. Hit
Y'all
us
don't know
up
what I
one
did when I went to
time.
6th grade camp. You don't know. You weren't there.
I don't want to know what you did at 6th
Who'd
grade
you
camp.
kiss?
Peed on the
Wow.
snow to
Did I
give it
get
to Bobby.
Did I get in the river? Who knows? Okay. I don't know.
Were you a part of the Polar Bears Club? I don't know. Did
What
you
river?
Did you get that bead on your necklace for the Polar Bear Club?
I don't know what the polar bear.
I don't know what you're
Uh,
talking about.
Did I get ritually peer pressured into doing it? Maybe.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Stuff's
Moving
getting
on.
crazy
Yeah,
in
we're
here.
getting real loosey goosey in
I
here.
almost dropped the chip.
What was I talking about? Sherry.
Rivers.
I love Sherry. The reason I love Sherry the most is because of that scene when she drops them off at the Monsters Incorporated, and she's like, "Okay, I'll just be in the car listening to my music." And she rolls up the window.
She says, "I'll be listening to my tunes."
My tunes.
And it absolutely cracked me up because it was just like the most rock screamo song ever.
Heavy metal.
She doesn't even like
Sherry.
flinch.
She's just like staring off in the distance. It's hilarious.
She's listening to my tunes.
And it's also hilarious because I used to listen to music like that in high school, and I used to go to Warped Tour, and this weekend is the last Warped Tour ever, and I am going. So there.
2 days ago,
I'll
since
think
you're
of
listening
Terry
to this
when
on
I'm
Monday.
there. You the realist Terry. Sherry. I thought her name was Terry. Goodbye.
No, there's Terry's and Sherry's.
Terry's. Okay.
Okay, another funny thing that they did really well with what do you call it? With the college scene was, like we talked about before, the first day of school, the first week of school, the whole first semester was like upbeat, crazy, having fun, doing crazy stuff.
Right.
And then the day going back to school,
Second semester, it's
When
just
they
like
turn
empty
it-
and barren, and everyone is sad.
literally.
But that's what it felt like.
No, that's what I'm saying. They did a really good
Oh.
job because it was cold. Nobody was happy. We're like, why are we here? We hate college. Like, that's exactly how it was. So I thought that was hilarious. It just,
And I'm going to tell you what I thought about in that moment. Well, the third time I've seen the movie. The first time you've seen the movie, you wouldn't know that at the beginning of the movie, there's that little snail slug thingy who's like,
Yeah.
I gotta get to class, I can't be late. And then he goes, and he's going so slow, right? So I knew at the end of the movie, he obviously doesn't get there until school's out. And when that winter scene comes on, I think about him just still running in the cold of winter, just can't be late for class. Poor slug.
That was really funny because it was like a post-credit scene.
It
and
was
I
funny.
wasn't expecting post-credit scene. I don't think I stayed
He was
when
out there cold
when I
in
first
the
watched this in
winter.
the theater.
oh, I
guys.
remember seeing it in the theater and dying.
It was hilarious.
You're tripping out on that. Imagine how the heck did he go through grade school and high school?
Yeah.
Hopefully his mom dropped him off in a car because
In
I
the
hope
class.
he was homeschooled
Rough.
because there's no way he would have made it his first period class
I was-
freshman
I
that
year.
was one of the funniest callbacks of all time.
I was telling Michelle he needed like an electric skateboard or something like that. Just I know,
I
just
know, he
something
was
to
like,
get
he
needs
around
to
with.
hover around.
Dude.
Yeah.
Wheelchair, I don't know.
Poor slug dude.
Did Mr. Randy Newman do this music as
Mr.
well?
Randy Newman did the music. This is his 7th Pixar film.
And I will say that honestly, a lot of the music they just reused from the original Monsters Inc. movie, which I really liked because it felt nostalgic. Like when they would see the where did they work?
Monsters Incorporated.
Monsters Incorporated. They used the same music
Mhm.
for when
Yeah.
you would see it in the movie, or when the scarers walk in, they use the same music. So I liked that.
Mhm.
I don't know how much original music there was.
I think-
I like the bandstand song.
Right.
Like, I don't know what it's called, but like the music, one of my favorite parts in the whole movie, and I was talking to Luis about this earlier, is the semester montage when they do their first class, you know, in the scare school, and Miss Scramble, Hard Scrabble, whatever her name is, she pretty much tells all the scarers, like, you need to be on your A game or you're getting kicked out of this program. So
Right.
at the end of the semester, you need to pass this. So, like, the music starts, you see Mike write on his little calendar, like, when the final is and everything, and it goes through this whole montage of the semester. And it was so cute
It
because
was.
you saw, like, him and Sully, like, dueling it out in class, and both of them kind of getting better, and you see them with Randall, and they're doing all these different things. But the music and that sequence is my favorite. And I think they use it later on when they win the
They do.
whole
The
thing as
scare
well.
games, yeah.
But that was really, I thought that was a really good original song for this movie.
Randy Newman doing it again.
Well, okay, yes. So Randy Newman did most of the music, but apparently the Rise and Shine song, which I think is the one you're talking about, they feature a drum line from the Blue
Yes.
Devils.
Yes.
Like the real college Blue Devils.
I wouldn't doubt it
Threw
because it
down on the
sounded,
track.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's good.
Louis, do you want to tell everyone what you thought about Hard Scrabble's nails? I wrote it down. I literally word for word wrote down what you said.
Let me see.
Since we're talking about her.
They were on fleek like a Latina's nails.
What? He said that?
Because she came on screen, he's like, ooh, she's scary. And he's like, ooh, but those nails are on fleek. She looks like one of those feisty Latinas, just got her nails done at the salon.
Oh,
Because you
my
know how
God.
nowadays, like, I mean, growing up, I would see my sisters with nails, and I
Yeah.
never seen like those long kind of clawing
pointy
nails
ones.
until
Right.
like maybe
Pretty recently.
5-6
Recently?
years ago.
Sure.
Coffin
know?
nails.
Coffin nails. So
Is
when
that what
they
they're
cough, they can go ahead and clench their fists appropriately. Coffin nails.
I don't think it's that kind of cough.
No,
think
like a
it's like-
coffin that you die in.
Jovial.
Anyways,
I like Dean Hardscrabble.
I like to compare Dean Hardscrabble to Professor McGonagall. It's really fun to compare them because they're
Oh,
both
yes.
very
Mhm.
strong women, and they're both very like
Strict?
to the point and strict.
British?
But they also really
British?
care. You could at the end, Hardscrabble actually really cares about her students and stuff. So she's kind of comparable to McGonagall in that way for me, and she just looks cool.
I really love her design.
She's terrifying, but yes, she's
She
cool.
looks awesome.
She's a centipede
The
dragon.
centipede is the problem. If we could get rid of the centipede.
There's a reason
Bottom.
why she's the top scarer.
If we could get rid of the centibottom, then the rest of her would be super
Dean
cool.
Hardscrabble,
Because she
be
got
the one
like
to come scare
she's
you.
got like
She's got lots of legs.
really
Oh,
cool
yeah.
head hair.
Yeah, her head spikes.
Yeah.
Her head spike looks like Madame Hooch from Harry Potter.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The flying
Yeah, and
instructor.
I
And
think-
she
'cause
flies
she's
all the time.
maroon.
She's like, I got these wings. I'm going to use them.
Which
and
is
she's
smart.
just like, I'll fly into class.
And that's why it reminds me of McGonagall too, because she's always coming into the class as a cat and then is like turning back into a human. She's just flying in as a dragon, and I love
yeah,
it.
she cool.
Yeah. Handle it.
Another
And terrifying.
Yes.
Let me just throw that out
Yeah,
there.
she is terrifying.
Quite
But
steady.
the most terrifying character is not Squishy when he's doing that thing.
I can't go back to jail.
It is the real I'm shiny dude. For some reason, the librarian really reminded me of Tamatoa. I don't know why.
Really?
The librarian?
Because she has like a shell. She has a shell.
Oh.
Like her body looks like a seashell, so it was reminding me of Tamatoa.
She was pretty
But,
creepy.
She's
Yeah.
the scariest to me. Ooh, that librarian.
She's large and charged and very.
She can't see either. That's why she's
You
so
know
grumpy.
what? This is a very
can't
important
see.
thing about optical health. I think we should raise awareness for optical health,
Get your eyes checked, everyone. Go to the optometrist.
especially people like Mike. It's really important when you only have one eye.
Yeah.
I think he can see.
Take care of it.
He's a silly little optic noive. Okay.
Hey, Louie. You got a ba-da-da-da-da.
Dun 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 dun. College battle.
Unless you, and,
Scare games.
because you guys can't see Louise this time. He
was
literally
really
was
excited.
dancing with the song, like he knew
He was,
he was
You know how
bebopping.
you just like hit, like, yeah, like back and forth, the hips way? He was doing that.
He was like getting excited over the song, which I
Ooh,
appreciate.
I'm excited for this battle because if he's excited, I'm excited.
All right, so this week's battle is more of a selection, personal battle for each one of you.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh.
So bear with me. Out of all of the scare games,
Okay.
which scare game was your guys' favorite?
So
is
which
my
like
favorite?
round?
Yes,
Yeah,
which
which,
one,
like,
which scare game
Okay.
/ round was your guys' favorite?
Okay.
Ooh.
Ready, go.
I have two opinions on this because when you're saying favorite, I have a separate answer for which one I think is the hardest.
No. Favorite, no hardest. Get that
Oh,
one
that's
out
hard.
of
Okay, I have to think
Favorite.
about it. Someone else go first.
Okay, do you want me to give you the rundown of which ones were which?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the first event was in the sewers, and they had those urchin things. So you had to run through the dark, not touch the urchins, and you had to make it to the other side. Now,
Your whole
our
team.
characters were dips, yes, and that's where I was going with this. Our team, okay, were a bunch of dippy
They're not
dips
okay.
because
they were not okay.
Mike and Sully only thought about themselves and they wanted to beat each other, but the rest of the team had a really hard time getting through. The only reason they made it was because the jocks cheated by using slimy
Yes.
gel.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right. Protect
FYI
themselves from the urchins.
Yes. In that scene, we see
Luxo.
we see the Luxo ball on the wall when they're explaining what is toxic to
Right.
monsters, and we also see George Sanderson from
Yes.
the first movie, and
Yes,
he
'cause
is in
he's
the
in a fraternity, right?
Yeah, he's in the Jocks
Oh, yeah,
fraternity.
he's one of the
Because I
cheaters.
looked at
Yes.
Andre, I was like, isn't that the sock, dude?
Yeah.
That's exactly
He
what
was
I
like,
said.
"Yeah."
I wrote down in my notes. I wrote, he cheated in college. He deserves everything that he got to him in Monsters Inc.
Oh my goodness.
So there you go. The second event was the library, which we were just kind of talking about a little bit. The third scene was Don't Scare the Teen, which is when they were going through like the maze.
Yeah.
The fourth one was Hide and Sneak, where it was through the house, and they had to sneak and not be found.
Right.
And then the
Yeah,
last
the
one,
referee couldn't find him.
yes, and then the last one was the Scare Simulator. So which
All
one
right.
was our favorite?
My favorite was the librarian.
Okay.
I thought that was so clever.
You want to
And
explain
it's-
what happened in that one?
So basically, the librarian is a huge monster, and if you make any sound at all in her library, she's gonna come and pick you up, throw you out the ceiling into a river,
Toss you out of the
which
library.
is hilarious. Like, I think that is so funny because librarians take librarianry very seriously.
Librarianry.
And you don't talk in a library. You just don't talk in a library. So you know what? It's just like Greek jocks to make an event around the library. Like, let's just go to the library. The only time we ever go to the library is for the
And
scare
torment
game.
her.
Yeah.
And torment her, right? It was so funny. I love just the concept around it.
So it was
Like,
pretty much capture the flag without
Yeah.
getting caught by the librarian.
Which I thought it was very clever.
Really
It was a very
funny.
clever concept. So that's my favorite.
I will say though that the only time I ever went to the library in college was to meet Luis.
I never went to
When
our
we were
library.
dating.
I went to the library.
I did
In
not.
I
college?
went in there, yeah.
I went to the study room in the library to study, but I never went to the library.
Nah.
I mean,
Guys,
that's part of the library.
I'm pretty sure he lived in the
I
library.
lived in the library. There was times where
What was
I
your
would-
major again?
My major was social science. No, it was history.
Yeah, he lived in the library.
Well, it was mostly when he was getting his teaching credential that we were in there.
Well, yes, as a couple we were, but literally, speaking of which, it's funny. The semester that I joined my fraternity, I pretty much spent the entire semester in the library as well. Because
Good for you.
during that time, like I had a tough wake up call in college. I didn't get any D's or any F's, but I got all C's. and
Okay.
that just
Your
was,
first
Oh, this is
semester?
going to be hard.
that just it was that didn't
the
fly
first
with
semester
my
is the hardest.
that didn't fly with my history advisor, and they're like, you're gonna need to pick it up because
Yeah.
this isn't good. And
You had
so-
an advisor?
Yeah.
Man, psych majors didn't get no advisors. We advised ourselves.
And so the not second semester, the second year, that first semester, I lived in the library. All I did was read. I'd get there like on my days where I didn't have class. I would get there like at 9 in the morning, and I would literally be having to read my entire textbooks.
Oh my
Some of
God.
my fraternity bros, when they would go into the library,
Sullys?
they'd be like, "What's going on over there?" Because I'd be in like the back of the library sleeping on a couch, and they'd be like, "Why are you sleeping on the couch?" I cannot lie to you. However many times they came up to me, and while I was asleep on the couch, scared the living heck out of me till I woke up and spilled soda.
In what?
Spilled soda.
Oh,
Spilled
I
soda.
only
soda.
had once that I spilled
So was
soda.
the library your favorite one too, Luis?
That's a tough one. I
Dude,
want to
you-
say yes.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Yes.
library.
The only reason why I want to say yes is because I would never get kicked out of that library.
You don't know that. You be snoring super loud. The library
Nope.
be like,
Wanna
"Shut
know
up."
why?
Why?
Because I would love it in there and want to be there and not get
Okay.
kicked out on purpose.
Okay.
But I also kind of like the first scene only because Squishy's mom is over there taking a freaking Polaroid picture of him.
Hi, Mom. When Squishy does that, hi, Mom.
Right. Mike gets
So
embarrassed, but
funny.
Squishy is just like, "Oh, it's my mom. She's here. Yay!"
What is your favorite?
she's like up in the sewage grate, like up.
Snap taking pictures.
Um,
Andre.
my favorite, I think, is
Don't
hide
say
and
the-
sneak.
No,
Okay.
that's my favorite.
Well, we could both have the same favorite.
No,
Hide and sneak is your favorite?
Yeah, it's super cool.
I
Even-
love hide
There
and
wasn't
sneak.
enough of it. I wanted more.
Right.
Nobody
it-
likes the purple balls?
Luis just said the purple balls. Almost.
Almost, okay.
I almost liked
I
Mike.
like hide and sneak because it's after like Mike has learned to train them a little bit better, right? So they're all pretty good at hiding, and Dawn is on the ceiling and stuff like that, and everybody else is getting caught. Even though one of them that got caught, I think one of the his sisters or whatever, and she's just like a long stick eyeball, and she's like hiding with a table on top of her head. That was a pretty good.
I thought that was really cool.
I don't know how they found her.
The only reason they found it was because her eyeball wasn't wasn't closed. No,
Yeah.
I agree. That one was my favorite too because, like you said, they weren't the best traditional scarers, so they were using their good talents to be super great, like mistress and misters of the or misters messers of mischief. Like I just loved that they could hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
Which the one that
Sully
with his mouth open like he's a dead lion or something, which is I'm not cool with at all. But it was funny. I agree with you. That one was my favorite too.
Sully was funny.
I did like the don't scare the teen though, because the only reason was because one of the freaking teenagers said, "But Daddy, I love him."
Yeah, I was like, oh, Little Mermaid reference.
It was very funny. But I could imagine that one being really annoying. All the poor little pink sisters were up and they're like,
Yeah.
and then they were like, dang it.
They're all killing their younger
they can't
selves.
handle that girl sass.
No. But I really liked them because hold on, I have to remember what they're.
The pink
Ada
girls.
his.
The pink Python New Kappa. I really liked them because even though they were like the pretty girls, they were kind of nice.
Yeah.
Except for when they said like, we're going to obliterate you or whatever.
Destroy you.
Yeah, whatever they said.
I like their glowing eyeballs.
Yeah, they were pretty cool.
Yeah,
I liked
cool.
them.
Yeah. They were
All right,
good.
we're 2-2.
Oh.
Tied.
Woo!
We
Dun, dun,
sweet.
dun,
We will
dun,
have to
dun,
ask
dun,
the listeners
dun, dun,
this
dun,
time which
cottage.
their favorite game
Battle.
was.
Well, let's talk about the different fraternities too, because there were quite a few. So the first one were like the partiers, Jaws Theta Chi, the jocks, which I thought was so clever, the way that they did that.
Yeah.
All of them are clever.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And then there was Roar Omega Roar, who were like the preppy, like
They were
rich
the-
dudes.
Right.
Yep.
And then there was Ada Hiss,
The
which
goth.
were the goth sorority. So funny.
I love it.
There was Eek, Slugma Kappa sorority.
Mm-hmm.
They were like Louis said they were like the athletic
Yeah.
sorority. There was Omega Howl, but they didn't play in the game, so maybe they didn't have enough numbers. They just talked about them in the beginning.
Okay.
Oozma Kappa, okay, our
Okay.
brothers. And then there was Pink, the Python New Kappa sorority.
Yeah.
And, they had their Greek row, and then they had the Oozma Kappa house down the
So
street.
funny. I really wish they had merch of all of them.
Agreed.
Like they have always had the Monsters University hat, like the blue MU hat,
Mm-hmm.
but they have some okay stuff. Like I've seen the Oozma Kappa hat,
Mm-hmm.
but I saw a pink hat. They did have them for a while.
I think we need
But
to get
only
Louis
those
a
three.
Jocks hat. I really think it needs
that'd
to
be
happen.
so funny, wouldn't it? If they
Oh
just
my
had the
gosh.
hats of like all
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
I like that.
That would be cool.
That is the first. So when Luis and I got married, we started so pretty much instead of doing a traditional honeymoon, we decided to get annual passes that year. So we went to Disneyland quite a few times that first year. And the
Yeah,
first
you
time
did.
that we went, the first thing that I bought was the MU hat because it had just come out. So 4.5 years ago. And I got the hat, and I was like, can you please embroider something on the back? And they were like, well, traditionally we don't do these types of hats because they have like the big seam in the back, like where the hat comes together. And I was like, I don't even care. It just needs to say Ruiz on the back, right? Because I just got married. So I was like, I needed my Ruru on the back. And long story short, she did it, and it looks amazing. And I've had so many people ask me like, oh my God, where'd you get that done? I didn't know you could get that done. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty much because I had to cry to get it done. But
Special privileges.
special privileges of being just married.
I'm gonna be the same way. Like once we get married, I'm putting Morton on everything. Morton on the salt.
It's already on the salt.
It don't matter. I'm gonna have a salt shaker that says Morton on it.
Oh my God.
I'm done.
Um,
Oh my God.
Tell us about them Easter eggs, Emily.
Michelle Morton. So cute.
Salt.
Yeah, wait. Yeah.
Well, at first I didn't know why it was the salt. Now I get it. But
You got it immediately. You laughed. Easter eggs.
Easter eggs. Okay, so we already talked about how George Sanderson was in the Jocks fraternity, which I thought was really cool. Also that we saw the Luxo ball in the beginning, the first sewer game. It was in a toxic toy menagerie.
No.
Don't touch that. And then we see our A113, the classroom where the scare
Scare school is.
is A113. We see the Pizza Planet truck outside of the Jock's house. The Jaws Theta Chi house.
I didn't notice it when
Of course,
I
it would
watched.
be out front of their house.
Yes.
They'd eating pizza.
They'd be getting their pizza with
Pizza.
their
Sounds about right.
party.
Pizza party.
We did the But Daddy I Love Him, which is a
So funny.
Ariel reference, which is hilarious.
I literally die every time that comes on. I'm like, yeah, Ariel reference.
Too funny. What else? I did this in a really bad way, so now I can't find them all.
Might be it.
Oh my gosh, we see the abominable snowman right at the end.
Oh, yeah.
In the mailroom.
He's in the mailroom and he literally says no tampering with the mail.
It will
is
get you banished.
Yes, he's
Yeah.
like it's punishable by banishment.
And then he's banished.
he's
So
banished.
I wonder what tempted him. to
Probably
Right?
money
tamper
in
with
there
the
or
mail.
something.
He was getting in that mail
Yes.
was being
from the
Um,
Himalayas.
He was being abominable.
I want to talk about it's not a post-credit scene, but I guess you could call it like the end movie scene. It is during the credits, right? Kind of, where they're showing the progression of Mike and Sully's relationship after they got kicked out of the college. That is my favorite part of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which sounds so weird, but those small scenes that they did are absolutely brilliant.
Well, it's cute because it shows how they ended up at the.
They
So they
started
get
from the bottom.
Oh yeah. So they got kicked out of the university because pretty much,
Yeah.
long story short, at the end of the games, at the end of the what are they called? The
Scare
games. During the scare simulator scare scene,
Yeah, they cheated.
Sully tampers with the scare simulator and he makes it so that Mike will win no matter what. So that the whole team will win. So the team wins and he ends up telling hard scramble.
Hard Scrabble.
He ends up telling her that he cheated because he feels really bad about it because Mike then feels like nobody believes in him.
Right.
Yeah.
So long story short, they end up getting kicked out of the university. So sucks to suck, no degree for you. But they made a joke at the beginning of the movie that monster companies always have openings in the mailroom. So then
Right.
they took advantage of that and said,
Yes.
well, we're just going to go work in the mailroom then. So they end up in the mailroom first.
Best mail deliverers.
Yes. Then they go to be janitors.
Yep.
Best janitors.
Then they go into the kitchen. What was it? It was something about their being
Super servers.
super servers, super servers, and then they had auditions to be scarers,
yeah.
and they obviously made it. So, like you said, it was
I
really
love
cute
that.
to see.
And Sully is shaking the hand of Mr. Waternoose.
Oh,
and
that-
Mr. Waternoose has a big old afro.
Oh, Andre died.
That's the next thing I was gonna say because in that whole transition, we see Mike and Celia's relationship go to a new level. Because at first you see just her phone number, and then it's like Celia Wellia, and then it's like I love you, and blah blah blah. So you see like through the
Call
years
me.
they get their love on, and then Sully is shaking the hand of a very frode Waternoose.
He looks like Shaft. He's got a big old beard and everything too.
So funny.
That was the hardest laugh that I had throughout the entire movie. Is Mr. Waternoose with the
I vouch
afro.
for that.
Oh, and then the one, obviously the most important one that I totally forgot is numero uno in this movie.
Roz.
Roz.
I'll be
My favorite.
watching you.
So
I love Roz.
at the end, we talked about they end up messing up the scare simulator game, and Mike feels like nobody believes in him, so he's going to prove that he is worth his scaring salts.
Yeah.
So he goes into, which this is actually one of the coolest concepts to me, that one of the I guess majors
Yeah.
is to be a door manufacturer pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
you
so
create
cool.
the doors
Right.
that open
Yes, I love
a door to
that.
another dimension.
So like you're a portal
Yeah.
master
Yeah.
pretty much.
That's amazing.
So-
I want to do that.
So pretty much this girl's semester project was to make her door, and you hear like in their passing conversation that her door is too dangerous, like they can't
Right.
use it. It can't be used in the factory, and they're gonna have to shred it because it's just too much. And I kind of thought to myself, like, what in the world do you mean the
Right.
door is
okay,
too
and
dangerous?
honestly,
Place
when
is
they
this?
open the door and there's a girl laying down, I thought it was an old lady.
Oh,
Like the way
It's too
that
dangerous.
the way that the hair looked from far
Huh.
away, it looks gray. So I thought like, oh, it's an old lady. She had just failed because it wasn't a child's door; it was an
Oh.
adult's door. No, that was not what happened.
well, so it's interesting because then Mike ends up thinking like, well, I'm going to go in there and show them. I'm going to go to the real world. So he ends up sneaking into that area and goes through the quote unquote dangerous door. And he ends up, like Michelle said, with a kid, and he's going to scare the kid. long story short, there's multiple reasons why this is a dangerous door. Number one, kids aren't scared.
Right.
The kid is not scared. Number two, it's a freaking
Summer camp.
It's a summer camp cabin full of
little girls.
little girls. So not only is the little girl not scared of him, but there is a plethora of children in bunk beds that are very not afraid of him.
Can't scare them all.
So they end up going through. He gets terrified, runs out the
window.
Mm-hmm. Sully has to go in to find him, and then
they have a heart-to-heart. I really enjoyed that scene when they've run down to the water and are talking to each other, because they're like really realizing that they're friends in this moment, and also the way that scene is shot, like
it looks so realistic.
The human world that they're in this movie, it looks a lot different than the human world that they go to in Monsters Inc. because it's like much darker, and it's like the colors are all muted and it's toned down, and Mike is all sad and Sully's all sad, and it just works very well.
I feel like that was the first moment in this entire series, I'll call it a series because there's two, where it wasn't crazy bright colors.
Right.
Because Monstropolis is insanely colorful.
Super bright.
Monsters University, insanely colorful. But like you said, they get out into this human world, especially and if some of our listeners may have never been to like a lake or up in the mountains, where when it gets dark and there's no city lights, it is dark, pitch black, and all you can see are the stars. And there, it was I almost couldn't tell that it was animated.
Right.
There was parts where I was like, this is so realistic.
Yeah, like I know children aren't toxic, but I was scared for Mike in that moment.
Oh yeah.
Like, whoa.
Oh yeah.
They're gonna eat him alive.
Well, the sheriffs could have like shot him down.
Yeah, they definitely could have shot him.
You know,
they thought Sully was a bear.
Oh.
I think
a blue bear.
Yeah, blue bear.
A blue bear.
Was a bear.
California blue bear. You know, but
scary.
But I really did enjoy that heart to heart as well, because it was funny. And now, are you ready for the cry moment of the podcast?
No cry.
Is that, it's funny because I kind of identified with Sully, because he said something like, I look confident all the time, but most of the time I'm terrified.
Always scared.
And it's funny because I feel like a lot of us put on that face, especially like when you're about to graduate from college, because you're like,
I don't know what we're doing.
You're like, I'm supposed to have it all figured out, and I definitely don't. So I thought that was really cool that they had that heart to heart, because they're the same person, just on opposite spectrums.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they're such a good
why they're great
mix.
best friends.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There was that other moment where they're like really good friends when they're at the Monsters Inc. factory and they're looking through, and then they're like naming all of the scarers, and they're like, "Oh, I had his card. I had his scare card."
I loved that
was
moment.
really good too.
He was like bringing them more out.
Who was it? What was her name? Clara Benavides with the claws, or
claws,
something.
yeah.
Oh, she was so funny. Look at that old dude.
And the old
dude
timer
with the mustache
and the eyebrows.
Yeah. He looked
So
like
funny.
the Looney Tunes character.
He did.
Yosemite Sam.
He did look like Yosemite Sam. So I have a few, not necessarily Easter eggs, but callbacks from this movie. I guess it's a call forward. It's not really a call back. But
I also have another one. So keep going, and then if you don't say it, I'll bring it up.
Okay, perfect. So there's a couple callbacks or references to Monsters Incorporated. We all know in Monsters Incorporated, when Mike is on the commercial or he's on the magazine, the logo always covers his face. Yeah. And you know what? He's never upset. He's always like, I'm on the cover of a magazine. So the best was the callback to that when they took his ID picture, and you couldn't even see his eye. You could only see the horns on top of his head. And he's like, I'm in college. so funny.
He does that again at the end when he like passes the scare games before he realized that Sully cheated, and Sully was like, Mike, are you all right? He's like, I can't believe it. I'm a real scarer.
Yeah. He loves to do that. Another kind of callback is Mike is training the Oozma Kappa brothers. He's getting them into shape, and he's telling them, scary feet, and he's doing the scaring. So apparently those workouts just work, because he was doing that to Sully in Monsters Inc. and he was the top scarer.
20 years later.
Sully has done the same workout for 20 years of his entire life, and it seems to be working for him.
And
I just need to do scary feet, guys.
He got better at it, too.
Yeah,
he did.
He was like, brush that plaque. Scary monsters don't have plaque.
Which is funny, because he says that. He says scary monsters don't have plaque in the Monsters Inc. movie, but in this movie, the teacher was saying something about having like yellow fangs or something, and I was like, no. Monsters don't have plaque.
Scary monsters don't have
Excuse you.
And I wonder if he almost taught him the bunk bed thing because he was traumatized from their experience.
Yeah.
It's like,
All the fur.
2 kids in a bunk bed.
That's good.
So Mike has to be the smartest monster ever, for sure.
Oh, I
Did you
agree.
say you had a
I have
different
another one.
callback?
I have 2 different ones. So remember Little Mike, the bear?
Baby Mike.
He's in this
Oh, the
movie.
bear, yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah,
bear
that's
is
right, the bear.
Little Mike.
Little Mike is in this movie, which is really cute. He sleeps with him, and he's on the he's on the what do you call that? Like
a shelf?
like a shelf when
Yeah.
they're in the Oozma Kappa house.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being a fraternity house with your
Little
little Mike
I still have my stuffed tigger. It's fine.
in your fraternity house?
Nope.
No, I didn't think so. And then this one is a little bit different. This one's not quite an Easter egg, but it's just a callback. So in Monsters, Inc., Mike tells Randall, he's like, "Do you hear that?" And then Randall's like, "What?" And he's like, "It's the winds of change," right? Because he was going to have the
Right. Steal a baby.
yeah,
His
and
plan.
pretty much over Randall's bed, there's a winds of change poster.
Oh.
Right? Which it's funny because I actually laughed at it because that's like what I used to work for Stanislaus County, and that's literally like the county inspirational posters.
really?
Winds of change. Don't be a lion in a savannah of gazelle. Something
so
stupid,
funny.
right?
Oh, okay.
Something stupid. And then lastly, this is a real Easter egg. We see Arlo is actually in the movie as a toy.
The good dinosaur?
The good dinosaur.
Wow.
When they're doing the simulation right at the end, the simulator scene, which Luis and I were laughing at this, how there were toys all over the floor, and then they scooped them up and threw more toys on the floor, which was hilarious, right? To make sure that it was hard to get to the kids. Before they scooped him up and threw them out again, Arlo is sitting on the floor in his good dinosaurness.
Very cool.
I like it.
So earlier we were talking about the reason why Randall hates Mike and Sully so much. Andre in his notes didn't realize that he wrote down the real reason. I have to agree with you here.
What did I write?
He wrote down this is so funny. He wrote down, "Oh, I bet Randall was pissed when Mike and Sully got to become scares without graduating and getting their degrees."
Ah, that's right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you
Because he
imagine
worked
how much
very
more
hard
mad
for
that
his,
would make you.
his entire college career. And then these two are in the mail room. He's probably making fun of them at the time, right? And then
they're
they
in the
just
mailroom.
rise up to the ranks, and then Sully becomes the top scarer. Ooh.
That's a suck.
Sucks to suck,
Sorry,
Randall.
Randall.
Put your glasses back on.
Yeah, seriously, get rid of that tension
Put your
headache.
glasses back on. Hey,
Take
Andre,
some
contacts.
ibuprofen and get your glasses on, man.
do you have a funny review to read us before we give our rating?
Yes. Okay. So this is the feature that I'm gonna start doing on a Crack in the Vault, but I'm bringing it to the show proper because it's gonna lead me into some production. So this is a 2-star review that I read on Amazon.com for Monsters University. Okay. This review comes from Stitton from November 1st, 2013. So it says 2 out of 5 stars. Kids were not into Monsters U. Just a little warning. Hi, I'm a parent of 3 kids, 6, 4, and 2. And I just happily dished out the 1999 from Monsters University and sat down with the fam and popcorn for our movie night of fun. Although we all tried, none of us, especially the kids, were into Monsters U after about 30 minutes. The Pixar team seems to have taken the only part about Monsters, Inc. that nobody really was curious about, which is, so what happened before all this, and made an entire freaking movie about it. What would have been cool is if it was a movie that expanded on the most personal and involved part of Monsters, Inc., which was the interaction between a giant monster and a small child, whom the monster was supposed to put the fear of God into, and the child who should have feared the giant creature. A great sequel would have been about the gang getting trapped in the human world somehow and having to blend in for an extended amount of time, dressing like humans, observing funny human behaviors, imitating said behaviors, going to work, etc., and coming into an appreciation of humans, and in the end finding a way to interact with the humans in a positive way while getting the energy off of our laughter. Or maybe start scaring adults, because that's way funnier than scaring little kids. I don't know. I thought it was kind of not great, and it made me sad because it's Disney Pixar, and they rule. My recommendo, that's what they wrote, my recommendo is I probably wouldn't bother, and that makes me mad because Pixar is awesome. So this person was...
This dude is
okay.
so
This person was
wrong
very-
on so
Pause.
many
I have
levels.
3
Disappointed.
things to say. I just forgot all 3 of them. But
Wow.
okay, number 1, did you watch the commercial before you went. Like,
Right. It's a
hello, the
college
trailer.
movie.
It's about. So why are you upset about that?
Right.
Kids
Number
probably
two,
aren't gonna like that.
why would you want a movie about them getting stuck in the human world? They act like humans already. What do you mean blending in? They already go to work. What do you want to watch them
I
go
don't
to
need
work?
know that all of a sudden monsters are accepted in the human world. I don't care about that at all.
Well, that would disrupt their entire economic structure.
This is
Well,
a
yeah,
different
that's
universe.
very true.
I'm fine with them not commingling.
So the funniest thing about this review is that
And number 3, are they mad at what? Oh, go ahead.
they're
I'm
mad
sorry.
at Pixar because they were disappointed, but they love
But they love
Pixar.
Pixar.
Okay, yeah, that
So,
was
I
my
don't-
number 3.
I don't know.
Okay.
But the reason I chose this particular review was because in the early stages of production, Disney owned the rights to Monsters Inc., but Pixar was still its own company. It was before Disney Disney had bought the entire production studio. So Disney was going to make a sequel to Monsters Inc. without Pixar because Pixar didn't want to do a sequel at the time. And their sequel was going to be called Monsters Inc. 2 Lost in Scaradise, where Mike and Sully visit the human world to hang out with Boo, who's a little bit older. And then she find out that she's moved, and so they go on like a search for her, and they split up and all that kind of stuff. So this person like almost nailed what the original sequel to Monsters Inc.
And I'm going to
was
say a big old
And
no to
this
that, and I'm
is-
glad they didn't.
This is
Right.
my thing. And I think Emily will agree with me on this. Some things, when they get to a point, don't need to go forward
Yep.
anymore.
Right.
They need to end. Just like season 2 of Once Upon a Time. They could have
I am-
ended it right
well,
there. Like, it didn't need to go forward.
Here's the deal. I am and Michelle knows me. I am the number one advocate for stopping something when
it's great.
when it's
Like,
good.
Be
Yeah.
done.
And I know that that's not like a good business strategy, but here's the deal.
We're both
Why
like that, though.
why let something go so far that it no longer is good? Because I feel like almost every superhero movie has gone that way. I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
save Marvel, I guess. But so many times things are made and remade and sequels and all this stuff, and you're like, just stop already.
Yeah.
The first one was fine. Stop,
Yeah.
right?
Sometimes you get to that third and
completely
fourth
agree with
movie,
that.
and it's like, oh, all right. we
But I
don't need
can
to-
tell you that I do agree that maybe kids would not like Monsters U as much because the content is not towards 5 and 6 year olds like the first one
Towards
was.
us.
Right.
It is towards older people. So I don't particularly disagree with that. But if they watch the trailer, they know that it's about Mike and Sully going to college.
Right. Yeah.
Boo
They should've-
would be ruined for me if we had to meet Boo again.
Agreed.
Like,
an adult.
I don't want to see her older. I don't want to hear about her again. We saw Sully open the door. That was fine.
We
Like,
we know that they got to meet again, but we
ended.
don't need to
We don't
see
need to know.
her
And-
older.
And sometimes that feeling of uncertainty, like what happened, is way better
Yeah.
than if you actually showed me what happened.
Like,
and
that
ruined
is
it for
the
me.
satisfying
Leave
ending.
it to my
Agreed.
imagination.
Right.
Agreed.
I'm fine making up my own thing in my head. Wow, very.
Yeah. So
very
that
good.
was a 2-star review from Amazon.com by Stitton. You can
Thanks,
go check it
Stitton.
out if you want to read it.
Right, deals
And
me.
I'll probably read a couple more bad reviews on the Crack in the Vault.
Can't
Cracking
wait.
the
Yes.
vault.
So-
Hey, I think we need to do our ratings. Luis,
Luis is asleep on the
he's
table.
on vacation. He's sleeping.
I don't think you guys understand what
It's
Summer
because
Lou
I
is
gave
about.
him that habanero salsa.
Say, Luis.
It's because he had a brewski before this. He's like, it's
I'm
wearing
2
out.
margaritas
It's-
in. That's why I was stuttering earlier.
Shuddering earlier.
Luis, what would you give this movie?
8.4.
8.4.
Interesting.
Okay.
Would you like to explain the 4?
I couldn't give a 9 because 7, 8, 9 for dinner. So
Yeah, but why isn't it an 8.5?
I don't know.
He's tired. He was taking a nippy nap.
It's an 8.4. That's okay.
No.
Nip nap. Nip nap.
Emily always thinks it's funny that Andre and I say, we're going to take a nippy nap.
Oh, we turned it into a song
Oh
over
my
the
God.
weekend.
A nippy nap. Does Addie like it?
She does.
Nice.
She loves nippy naps.
8.4. Boom.
All right.
All right.
Andre.
I'm gonna give this movie an 8.5. Oh.
Oh. 0.1 more.
It's a really fun movie. It's fun the whole way through. It's funny. It has a lot of cool, inventive moments, but it's not as cool and inventive as Monsters Inc. proper.
Mhm.
You know, and
Okay.
I think I like the amount of world building that this does to expand the monsters universe a little bit. They had that weird double-headed pigeon at the very beginning.
Oh yeah,
that like spits fire out of one of its heads or something like that.
I didn't like it.
That was cool. But it just doesn't quite stack up for me. But 8.5,
Okay.
still quite fun.
I'm also giving this movie an 8.5, but it's not because it didn't stack up. Like, I think this movie is brilliant in its own right. Out of, like, sequels or quote-unquote prequels of Pixar, it's in the top 3. Like, it's up there. I don't think I'll ever rate prequel or sequel higher than the original movie. That would be a miracle for me. I just don't. But this movie is amazing. If you were in a fraternity or sorority in college, it's completely all the more funny. And I love seeing Baby Mike. So, yeah, I love this movie.
Baby Mike.
I'm going to give this movie a 9. This is very comparable to with my likeness to the first one. I won't lie. And I think it's
Emily loves it.
I really do love this movie. I was super excited when you guys voted for it.
She's been saying, she was like, we could just watch Monsters University. It's like, we haven't even watched Monsters, Inc. yet.
But
She didn't care.
I didn't care. So yeah, I really enjoy this movie, and I think Michelle hit it on the head. I think that I'm very biased because of just my own life experience. The sorority and the fraternity thing is just too funny. They did a really great job with all of their callbacks to the original movie. There was no slow points to me, and I really appreciated the amount of kind of other types of humor, like the mom, and that just didn't have to be funny one-liners.
Even Sully chasing after the pig was funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just like random stuff.
I will say that it was really hard for me, though, to see, which we didn't even talk on at all. And I know that Luis, if he hadn't been sleeping, would have talked about this. But it was very hard for both of us to see Sully as a jerk in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he is such a sweetheart in the first movie. And at the end of this movie, he's completely Sully. Like, he's completely gotten there. But
he just needed a wake-up call.
I know.
That happened to some people in college, you know?
No.
I wrote down.
I agree, but it was hard
It
for
was
me.
hard. It was hard.
I wrote in my notes that when Sully first shows up, he reminds me of every person in high school that I hated.
Yep. Pretty much.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
Hey, can I borrow a pencil? I didn't bring one.
But then once he says, like, he does
Seriously.
it because, he feels...
Yeah.
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 Insecurities. But it's funny because my mom pointed out, she walked in halfway through me and Luis watching it, and she was like, he's so skinny. And I was like, you're so right.
He's
like,
thinner.
he was very much thinner. And it was
He
like,
also has like a lot of back hair.
yes. Like, he just totally was.
Mike was more green. He looked younger.
Yes.
His horns are shorter too.
Yes. They did a really good job making them look younger. And I don't know how you do that when, like,
they're monsters.
they're not human. Like,
Also, Sully sheds. You don't want him as a pet.
oh my God. And his hair looked not so, it looked coarse.
Right.
Like, it didn't look like it was like
Looking
super feathery.
smooth.
My favorite thing was that the hair on top of Sully's head was like spiked to the side, which
had,
is
like, a
totally
faux
a dude
hawk.
haircut.
Yeah.
And I was all, you got a college haircut. So funny.
He's a cool
Very
guy,
cute.
Sully.
But I agree with you, Emily. This movie is really great. I want a Monsters University hat, and the best thing about the Monsters University hats that you can buy in the park is that they're also frayed on the edge.
Yes,
just
they
like
are.
in the movie. But I really want a Oozma Kappa hat. If I see one, I'll probably get it next time. So cute.
And I also like it because even though it's 100% Disney, it doesn't have I contradict myself all the time. I either want it to be so much Disney that it spits up Disney on it, like, this is definitely from Disneyland, or like, I don't want it to look Disney at all.
Right.
And so for the Monsters University, like, if you didn't know what MU was, you just think it was a
Yeah.
college.
It's a hat, yeah.
You know?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is it in the
Michigan.
Pixar Play Parade, or is it in Paint the Night where there's Monsters University stuff? I know there is because I know the purple guy's a thing, and every time I see him, I'm like,
I remember it
must
being in
be-
Paint the Night.
It's in Paint the Night.
Well, where
It's
they're
in
hanging
either
off
one.
the doors is in Paint the Night.
Well, I think the purple guy is like actually a dude that walks.
That's in the Pixar Play Parade.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Whoa.
You mean Art? The one that you don't
Yes,
like? The
Art.
one that doesn't want to go back to jail?
The furry rainbow.
Whatever. Furry rainbow.
Is that a song?
It is now.
It is now.
Okay.
Just like Nippy Nap is.
Nippin' nippin' nap.
next
Nap.
Yes.
month.
This has been our Pixar month. We did it.
Yay! Yay! If you guys have been to Pixar Pier and we haven't, boo! I'm so jealous of you.
Boo!
Yes.
Tell us all about it.
Thank
Hit
you
us up.
thank you for enjoying our full entire month of Pixar movies.
Yes.
We have
Also,
none left. Just kidding.
Send
Yeah.
us an email if you like these monthly theme things. We're thoroughly enjoying this for summer. We might need some help deciding what August is going to be. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Because August is still considered summer,
it's
yes?
still summer,
Yeah,
and we
still
need
summer.
some ideas. So if you're going to email Andre, he'll love it.
Oh my God! Contact at thewaltvaultpod.com.
So, but
Okay.
July is coming
Come.
up. And you know what happens in summer? This is summer of heroes.
Da-na-da-da-da. Oh wait, no, those are other heroes.
Da-na-na-na-na-na. Technically, they're heroes.
Da-na-na-na-na-na.
For
How do you know?
July.
Gosh, Andre, this is a callback to our Incredibles episode. Andre keeps doing this every single day. I can't do it like
Excuse
him.
you?
Do
So
it. Someone film
in
him.
the Incredibles
Hold on.
Incredibles music, there's like a little sting right before the music like kicks in, and it's like up on the piano keys like ding 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 ding. But I don't like doing that with my mouth, so instead I go.
He's been doing it all.
Also, it annoys
Day.
Michelle, so I
Okay, well, I'm annoyed,
course
but
he
I
wants
also
to
need
do it
to
more.
hear the original song because I do not remember it doing that. Can you stop playing
Don't
it
play
while we're
it.
watching, please?
You guys, for July, we are watching Marvel movies.
We're doing it big.
We're
Summer
doing it.
of Heroes. And we're starting off with my most recent favorite superhero. And I can't decide if he's number 1 spot or number 2 spot because I'm very conflicted. But it's
Can you just spit it out, please?
Doctor Strange.
Doctor
Woo!
Strange.
I'm so excited.
So it's available on Netflix. Check it out. We'll be talking about it next
Fancy
week.
I'm
sorcerer.
going to have a lot to say about Mr. Cumberbatch.
Mr.
Yeah, you're doing that with your fingers. You're making me nervous. Stop doing that with your mouth. What's wrong with you?
Scary.
So here's the deal. Originally, I want to throw this out here because I don't think we talked about this yet. But originally, if you guys don't know, I don't know where you've been, but the World Cup is going on right now.
Oh, yes.
And originally, shut up. Originally,
What?
Luis is a huge soccer fan, and he really, really,
Yes?
he really, really, really wanted our theme for the summer to be the World Cup.
Right.
And we were actually all pretty into
I was
it.
very excited.
We were really into it because we were going to match up all the movies that we watched based on who was playing different matches.
Right, different movies for different countries.
Yes. But the problem, I mean, we actually
We
found
didn't put Anastasia on that line because we thought that Fox deal was going to go through. But
well, and we even thought like Russia's the host country, like how we're going to do this.
Anastasia, yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny though because we just realized there was too many matches, and to watch the movies in accordance with the matches, it just wouldn't have worked
With the
out very well.
countries and- yeah.
But just so you know, we totally had it all figured out. And if you guys are interested in looking at what that bracket looked like, let us know because
we could totally post it.
yeah, we had a really cool bracket based for each of the
I'm
countries.
still about that bracket. 3 Caballeros would have gotten in there for sure.
That's what I'm saying.
It was a very fun
He's
idea.
kind of changed his mind. We just decided to be a little hard. So if you want to give us some ideas for what to do for August,
We
we'll
are open.
gladly take those suggestions.
Yes.
Maybe we'll still watch the movie of the country that wins. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Maybe.
possible. Maybe
Unless
we
it's
will.
Iceland, because I don't know what we're going to do for
We ain't
that.
doing Frozen, that's for sure.
Let it go.
Let it go. Let it go. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I just forgot that was a movie. I don't know. What?
We're gonna start off with Doctor Strange. We're all excited. Yay!
Yes.
Yay!
With many more Marvel movies to come. So, you guys, tell us what you think about Marvel movies, about World Cup stuff, about any of that. We are at the Walt Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Hit us up there. Check us out in the comments. Slide into our DMs. Send us a message. Or you can send me that coveted email to contact@thewaltvaultpod.com, and we may read your message on the show. If you would like to support us here at the Walt Vault, you can do so in a couple of different ways. The first way, the easiest way, is to just click subscribe. That's the best way to help us out. Clicking subscribe gets us more listeners like you, and you can help us to spread the Walt Vault love all over the internet. You can leave us a review on iTunes, but we are also on YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play, any place that you can get podcasts. Click subscribe. You can also help us out by shopping on Amazon. If you go to thewaltvaultpod.com/Amazon and click on the link, you'll be taken directly to Amazon. You shop like normal, pay for stuff like normal, and then we get a small cut of the purchase at no additional cost to you. Very win-win situation. The last way to help us out is to go to patreon.com/the Walt Vault, and for as little as $1 a month, you can become a member, become a patron, and get access to our after show, A Crack in the Vault, where we talk about some of the more adult aspects of movies. We go in a little bit deeper. We read more bad reviews. It's all fun on A Crack in the Vault. So that's it for now, you guys. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you next week. The vault is now closed.